So there's this question, a pretty big one, that's been making the rounds in Silicon Valley. With the insane speed and power of AI, has it officially killed the lean startup? Is that whole methodical approach just obsolete now?
And you've got some heavy hitters out there basically saying, yeah, it is. The argument is that AI makes building things so incredibly fast and cheap that the old rulebook just doesn't apply anymore. The new mantra? Just build. Seriously, just build stuff, throw it out there and see what sticks. The idea is that the sheer velocity of creation will eventually lead you to gold.
But then you have thinkers like Ben Yoskovitz who look at that whole philosophy and, well, they call it what it is, nonsense. Because building faster doesn't automatically mean you're building smarter. And speed without any real direction, that's not innovation. That's just chaos with a better user interface. All right, so let's break this whole debate down. First, we're going to look at this new age of chaos and the just build idea. Then, we'll get back to basics on what lean startup principles are actually about. After that, we'll see how AI isn't a replacement, but a massive accelerant for lean. We'll also cover the very real dangers of building blind. And then, we'll look at a different path for deep tech. And finally, figure out what the new competitive advantage, the new moat, really is in this wild new era. Okay, first up, this just build philosophy. You got to admit, it sounds amazing, right? It promises this world where all the hard parts of creating something have just melted away. At its core, this philosophy says that just cranking stuff out is the name of the game. The thinking is, if you're constantly building and launching, you're bound to just stumble across something that works. It's a strategy that puts all its chips on speed and kind of forgets about validated learning. So, if that's the just build argument, how does it really stack up against the lean startup? Well, to get why it's so off base, we've got to bust some of the biggest myths about what lean even means in the first place. You know, a lot of people hear lean, and they think it means slow, getting stuck in analysis paralysis, and just being allergic to actually building anything. But the reality, it was always about speed. Lean is a framework, a scientific method, really, for figuring out your riskiest assumptions and learning what you need to learn as fast as humanly possible. And this is the engine that drives it all, the build, measure, learn loop. And hey, would you look at that? Build is literally step one. See, lean isn't anti-building at all. It's just about building with purpose. You're not just shipping a feature. You're creating an experiment to test a really critical idea. And what is it you're testing? Well, Eric Ries, the guy who created this whole methodology, calls them your leap of faith assumptions. These are the absolute make or break beliefs that your entire business is riding on. You know, the stuff that, if it turns out to be wrong, the whole house of cards comes tumbling down. And the biggest, most common one? Desirability. Does anyone even want this thing? Okay, and this is where it gets really, really interesting. Because far from killing the lean startup, AI actually puts it on rocket fuel. It supercharges the entire loop, making the process faster, cheaper, and way more effective. I mean, just look at how perfectly AI plugs into this framework. You can spin up a prototype over a weekend to see if people even get your idea. You can use AI to run simulated user interviews to sharpen your thinking before you even talk to a real person. Think about it. Instead of maybe running one experiment a week, you could run 10. AI is a massive accelerant for learning, not a replacement for it. So what happens when you just ignore all this and go all in on the just build philosophy? Well, you're basically building blind, and the consequences can be pretty catastrophic. We're already hearing the alarm bells from founders who are right there in the trenches. The initial hype around AI is driving a ton of signups, sure, but that early traction can be a complete mirage. Because real sustainable success isn't about getting a bunch of people to try your product once. It's about getting them to actually stick around. And the numbers? Whoa, the numbers back this up in a terrifying way. Right now, a lot of new AI software companies are seeing 10 to 15% of their revenue just walk out the door every single month. People are signing up because of hype and FOMO, but because the product doesn't solve a real nagging problem for them, they're gone just as quickly. And it gets even sneakier. Jason Limkin over at SaaStr talks about this thing called stealth AI churn. This is when customers are still paying you, so your revenue charts look fine, but their actual usage of your product has fallen off a cliff. Why? Because they're using other, maybe even free AI tools to get the job done. Your product is becoming irrelevant right under your nose. It's a total silent killer. But, this whole focus on solving customer problems isn't just for software apps. There's a whole other universe of innovation out there called deep tech, where the stakes are even higher, and the strategy has to be a lot more nuanced than just building a simple MVP. So, what are these deep tech ventures? Well, think about companies that start in a science lab. They're often building real physical products, and they're facing huge, huge uncertainty. Not just about whether people will buy it, but whether the core technology will even work or if they can get it through regulations. They're the ones trying to solve the massive problems, the big societal challenges. And this distinction is so brilliant. For these kinds of companies, it's less about a minimum viable product and a lot more about a minimum viable pathway. The goal isn't just to find product market fit. The goal is to prove that a viable path even exists to get this complex technology out of the lab and into the real world. You have to de-risk the science, the market, and the manufacturing all at the same time. All of this brings us right back to that huge central question. If AI lets literally anyone build a product overnight, what's the real competitive advantage? What's the new moat that's actually going to protect your business? I mean, really think about that for a second. If 1,000 competitors can copy your new feature in an afternoon, your tech is not a defensible moat anymore. That barrier to entry has completely evaporated. So, what do you have left? That's it. True customer insight. The only thing that's truly defensible, the only lasting advantage you have is a deep, genuine, non-negotiable understanding of your customer's actual problem. It's about solving their pain, understanding their motivations, fitting into their workflow in a way that some generic AI wrapper just never, ever could. And so, that's the question we have to end with. AI gives you the incredible power to build 10 times faster. That's a given. But are you using that power to learn 10 times faster? Because in the age of AI, building is the easy part. Learning is everything.